Today we'll continue down the deal finding route. Obviously, it's deal finding month for February, so we hit it off last week with kind of where to find deals and how to find deals. And today I want to just go over a bit of research, how to analyze a deal, and a bit of area research for hotspots as well. I think it's important to kind of connect the two together. It's all well and good finding deals, but we need to know how to analyze them properly and how to make sure that we're getting into a good deal. So I'm going to go through that. If anyone does have any deals specifically that they want to me to look at, that's always a good exercise rather than just giving you the basics, but I can pick things out. And if anyone's got any questions along the way, please just hop off mute and shout out loud. Obviously, we're only a small group tonight, so that's cool. Let me just quickly ping us onto Facebook before we get fully started and make sure it's streaming there for us. So let's get one in. Go. Show the group. Cool. Right, we are live. Okay, so I mean, like always, I like to start with a bit of a mindset shift, and there's some activity in the group before, which I think kind of inspired tonight's mindset shift. But you know, again, a saying that I put in the group earlier was, you know, Nike's phrase of "just do it." I think it is quite easy to procrastinate, especially when you're setting up businesses and you know, you don't really have the experience or the confidence. So therefore you always tend to ask yourself, what if it goes wrong, as opposed to what if it goes right? And, you know, I think that's a fundamental mindset shift that needs to happen if you want to move forward in taking on deals and, you know, just pushing your businesses, or, you know, quite often just, you know, going live on Facebook like Brandon did the other night, or just pushing a social media post out that's a bit out of your comfort zone, or, you know, quite often we start thinking, well, what if this goes wrong, or what if so-and-so says something, or what if they say something, or, you know, just, you know, we just got to do it. And I think the main thing to remember is that imperfect action is better than no action. You know, so I know I've been there, especially marketing posts where you're like, oh, I don't think that represents the brand well enough. I think we need to tweak this. I think we need to tweak that. And we end up spending hours tweaking stuff rather than just getting it out there. And the more you just do, the more you will see results, and then you can perfect later. You know, your branding gets better as you develop, your skill sets get better as you develop, your posts, your marketing content, your copywriting, you know, whatever it looks like, your deal analysis, everything gets better as you get more and more experience. But if you don't get that experience from putting it out there and seeing what comes back, then, you know, it's hard to actually move forward. So, you know, make sure that whatever we're doing, whether it's marketing, whether it's picking up the phone and ringing agents, whether it's negotiating in deals, that we just get into it and just do it, rather than trying to find the perfect call script before we make any phone calls, or, you know, learn a book about how we do sales negotiation before we actually start offering deals. You know, just get stuck in. And I think by doing that, you'll get great results, and you'll probably surprise yourself as well, because it's, you know, 9 times out of 10, what you're doing probably does have the right effect, but it's you that's questioning yourself as to why you're not doing it and what might happen if something goes wrong, you know, rather than always thinking, well, I tell you what, if I do post this and something goes right, then what might happen then? And, you know, that's a much better way to think of stuff, and it also allows you to move forward a lot quicker and with a lot more positive attitude, which, you know, has massive knock-on effects in all areas of your life. So I think it was Chris that actually brought up the procrastination side of things earlier in the group. So kind of inspired everyone's posts. And I think there's another good book recommendation. For those that have just joined us, I will catch up with you sort of 5-10 minutes at the end. So just stay on. So obviously, you know, there's quite a few of you on here tonight. I just want to run through the program and run through what we did in January, and, you know, to get back over it, because it all links in. The production month that we did in January links into what we're doing this month, and it'll all kind of link throughout. So let's dive into kind of deal finding and analyzing an area. and you know, kind of what I look for when we are doing that. So I'm gonna share my screen. So when there's a couple of things. I think first and foremost, if you are brand new to service accommodation and you're just wanting to find out whether an area works or doesn't work, there is in the Kajabi program, in the Eminence program, there is, this is the back end version of it, but you guys see a different version of it. Finding rent to rent deals, which is in level 1, quickest path to fast cash. Watch this video and download this document and probably spend an hour or two completing this. So basically what this document does is it identifies where the hotspot areas are for where you're looking at initially, and what you may or may not find. I haven't come across it too many times, but you might find that your postcode doesn't work and you might need to go somewhere else. But in the main, I think most people's will. So literally just put the postcodes in, go down to the specific number, so i.e. the area. I'm not sure why this data is in here, but it just kind of ignore it a bit. But work out how many properties are available in that area, and how many hotels are within 3 miles of that area, and just list what the area actually is. So you know, Jasmine, Gateshead, whatever it might be, kind of go down to a specific area. Find out what the average weekday price is and what the average weekend price is. So basically doing that, you just look at, I don't know, 5 to 10 units that pop up when you're putting your search in, and just sort of pick a figure that looks in between them all. And then what you want to do is jump on Rightmove, and you want to find out what the average rent is for a 1-bed, 2-bed, 3-bed, 4-bed, 5-bed, 6-bed in that specific postcode as well. And then from this, what you'll start to see as you put your sort of lines and lines of data is how many properties are in that area are available, and then to rent, that is. And then you'll start looking at, okay, well, if an average weekday, an average weekend is, you know, I don't know, say 65 and 85 pounds, and your average 1-bed rent is like £1,000, well, if you times the average by about 21 to 23 days, you're probably not going to make much money. So you say, okay, well, maybe that postcode doesn't work, the properties are too expensive. But what you'll start to see is the data will start to just kind of jump out at you, and you'll start to see that, okay, well, the rents in that area are okay, and if I get 21, 23 days a month booked at that average rate, then I'm going to be, you know, quite heavily over what the rent is, so there's a bit of room there for bills as well. So that's the idea of this spreadsheet, is to just go through and find out different things. There's different tabs at the bottom, so we've got the same for kind of you know, buy, refurbish, refinance. So again, just how many properties are for sale, and then you know, lease options as well, research, same sort of thing, putting in the address in, putting the city's postcodes, date listed, advertised price. So it's all explained in this video. There's 4 videos, but the rent to SA one's in there, but there are ones for lease options and BRR deals as well, depending on what type of deals you do want to go after. So I would encourage you, if you haven't already, to watch that video and then download this research document and get stuck into that. So and then you'll start to really find out some good areas. When you do get so we're talking service accommodation now, when you do find a good deal, or you find somewhere that you think is a good deal, then a lot of people use, you know, all these fancy tools, but I just use Airbnb. Quite simply, just let me just get off this. I just use Airbnb when it works. So I just simply come to here, and I would just type in the postcode of, say, the area that I'm wanting to search. So I'll just put in, well, York popped up there before, so I'll put in that. So let's just say YO12. I would actually try and put I'll tell you what, I'll go to Newcastle because I know it. So put in like an actual postcode. And then what I tend to do is I don't put in any check-in dates. I choose this new I'm flexible button. I say new, it's been around for quite a while, but when I first started, it wasn't there. So I go I'm flexible, and then I'll look at the weekday first. It always defaults to weekend, but I'll look at the weekday, and I always choose 3 months in advance, so the next 3 months. And then what I'll do is I'll try and marry up the number of guests to the number of properties. So say if I'm looking at a 2-bed property, I would, think, okay, well, that's going to sleep 6. So I would choose 4 in the main, and then I might go to 6 thereafter. So what I'm looking for here is a few things, but one of them is the volume of stays. So how many stays are there in that postcode? We've got 71. So my gut feeling on that is, well, if 71 people can make it work, I can make it work. And that is literally about as detailed as the research that I go into. But if 71 people can make it work, I can make it work. And again, that's sort of the old what if mindset rather than what if it goes wrong mindset. But what I'll then do is, so that's kind of the first thing I look for up here is this number here. And quite often, if I was to type in specifically Newcastle there would be probably over 300 plus properties. So for me, that's a good sign. And we then investigate further. Having said that, even if it came up with 10 properties, I wouldn't necessarily think, okay, well, there's not enough there. I would just explore it a bit further and say, okay, well, what's the opportunity? Because there's not loads of people there. What's the reason for that? But also, of the ones that are there, do they work? So for me to find out if they work or not is I then look at this review score here. So I just quickly have a look: 16 reviews, 12 reviews, 73 reviews, 10 reviews, 6 reviews, 49, 5, 30. So I'm just kind of like flicking through to see if most of these properties have a good amount of reviews, which they do: 56, 14, 10, 22. Now, remember, not everyone books on Airbnb. Not everyone leaves a review. So if this property here has got 22 reviews, there's a good chance that they've probably had 80 to 90 stays, if not possibly more. So because not everyone leaves a review and not everyone books on Airbnb. So if they've had 80, 90 stays, what you could then do is dig into it a bit more. So you could actually click into the property. And what we could then do is go into the reviews here. And what you want to do is just scroll all the way down and find out when they started. So reviews go back to October. I've got one then, 19, June 19, June 19. Okay, so these have been operating 2.5 years approximately. They've got 22 reviews. And for me, that's fine because, let's be honest, not many people's going to book that property with those pictures. So the fact they've got 22 bookings plus the additional suggests that, the area definitely does work, because there's, a lot that could be improved on this and they could get a hell of a lot more bookings. But let's not talk about that tonight. Let's talk about research. So again, lots of reviews here, which is a good sign. The next thing that I would potentially do is just dig into the sort of future calendar outlook. So what you can do is, again, click into the property. And then if you actually search for some check-in dates, we'll see it here coming up. So they have got the next week and a half booked. And given that most people are booking about 10 to 11 days in advance at present, that's the current lead time for bookings right now, is about 10.46 according to our data for the UK anyway. So, these people here have pretty much got their calendar booked. Pre-COVID, we did used to see calendars a lot more further booked than what you're seeing here. But for me, that's actually not a bad sign right now, given that we're in January and also, you know, the month, the way that bookings have been going. Let's just have a look at a few more calendars. So let's go with this one here. So they've actually only got tonight, this weekend, Saturday booked and nothing else. They don't run with their calendar open at all times, so that will actually affect their bookings. That's another thing. You should always have your calendar open at all times. So they only have 2 months worth of calendar open at any one time. But again, we can talk about that when we start looking at pricing and things like that. So that's one way that I kind of do a quick snapshot analysis on, you know, whether a property is going to work for me based on just Airbnb. So I look at how many are there, what the reviews are like, and then I'll have a look at the forward calendar. I'm really not bothered by the forward calendar that much. I'll be totally honest, I don't really look at it that much anymore. I used to look at it a lot. I just typically look at, are there enough properties, what the reviews are, and then what I'll then do is kind of have a look at the average rates, but we'll come on to that when we go into the deal analysis section of it. The next thing that I would do is, so working on this postcode, what was it, NE65BH, I would go onto Google Maps. And then I will put hotels near NE65BH. So we have, where are we at? Yeah. So the property is, well, actually what I might do is I might actually just locate the property on the map first if I'm a bit unsure exactly where it is. So, okay, that's where we are. Zoom out slightly. So we're just down here, and then I would go hotels near. So we can see that we were around here, and we've got quite a lot of hotels within the area. I would have probably quite liked to have seen a few more in here, but no big deal. We've got one out here, we've got one here, one there, Holiday Inns, Park Hotels, you know, Holiday Inns, Premier Inns, Easy Hotels, all good signs, because, you know, those big hotels spend a lot of money on researching before they put any money into furniture or building buildings. Another Premier in there. So there's plenty of good signs there for hotel data for me. Albeit there's nothing in the immediate vicinity, but, you know, there's enough around the area to show that there's demand there for tourists and for traveling contractors and professionals. So that's kind of the ways that I would look at the information at hand to decide whether or not the property is worth going into or not in the first place, or whether the area is worth going into or not. What I then do is come back to my deal analyzer. So depending on how we're analyzing the deal, if it was a purchase, then I would use this first tab, which is the BRR analysis, if I was going to be purchasing that way. And I would just, all the gray boxes are basically the boxes that need filling in. You know, so let's just say purchase price was 125 grand, legal fees, whatever, 1250, refurb costs, let's say 12,500, no sourcing fees, mortgage broker fees, doesn't need a HMO license. So deposit at 25%. If I was taking a bridging loan, I might change that to 30%. Mortgage arrangement fee, again, depending on, that's if you fund it through a mortgage, which I wouldn't recommend to do. I'd fund it through a bridge. and bridging fee over 6 months will be equals 0.9 times 6, probably something like that. It's not what I wanted. So something's gone. Monthly rent. This then stacks it as an AST. So let's just assume monthly rent might be £850. No agent fee, so I wouldn't use an agent. Letting fee £9, net profit 841. New market value. Let's assume we get an uplift of 165. And then obviously your broke fees, exit penalties, if there are any. If you took a redemption style mortgage out, you might have some penalties, new monthly interest, and then any estate agent fees, 6 months mortgage interest. We then have total investment cost. There's a formula gone wrong here somewhere. Here, why is this not working? That'll be why. Looking at the wrong one. 165. 125, 165. Copy that over. Yeah, so total investment cost 37. Monthly cash flow is massively. What's this? I've knocked a formula out somewhere, but I'll have to find it. But in essence, this monthly cash flow, let's just assume I'll change this manually. So let's just say this 650 quid. It brings you down here. So it tells you your monthly cash flow is 650 months before break even. This is if you don't refinance it, and then it gives you your gross yield. If we were to refinance it, it shows you what your refinance monthly cash flow is, how much cash you would get out from that deal. Stress test monthly payment, so that is in the green. So just remember, if you don't understand what stress test is, basically the mortgage company would want to know that the rent is enough, and they have a stress test. And if I'm right in thinking, it used to be it's 5.5% divided by 12, and I think they take 145% of that, of the monthly rent. So that's what it's got to be. Money left in the deal, and as you can see here, it's red because I work on parameters of 24 months out before I get my money back out of the deal. However, I do analyze them on SA. So if I was to increase this cash flow to say 1250, which is probably about average for my sort of purchased ones, then that might change the scenario slightly. And so there we've got 16 months that it takes to get my cash out, and therefore I would now go for that deal and pull that deal out. So that's kind of why we use the BRR calculator. It then filters through into the SA calculator, and you can use this one from a rent-to-rent perspective, or you can use it from a BRR perspective, whichever way you want to look at it. So fairly simple. Put in all your costs at the top. So for me, it's kind of furniture costs in here. Let's just assume it's whatever, $3.5 grand to set up. I don't pay deposits, so there'll be no deposit. And neither will, don't want to refurb it, but let's just say for this, it needs a couple of walls painted. Rent, let's say we're renting this one and we're going to rent it for 850 quid a month. If you were doing mortgage payments, obviously your mortgage payments you just put in there rather than your rent. If rates, council tax, whatever, 125, light, power, heat, 90, water rates probably 35, repairs and maintenance, a month in, something like that. Insurance 19, channel management software fees, 14 quid, something like that. If you're getting property managed, obviously you'd have your percentage in there. Telephone and internet, 35 quid. Consumables, probably 25, something like that. If you had any future loan repayments on furniture or anything like that, If there's anything else, then you bang that in there as well. So that would give us a total cost of $12.80. Then what I'd do is I'd go back to Airbnb and I'd be like, right, okay, let's dig a bit deeper into this. So I've got 4 guests and we are wanting to, we've got the flexible rate. So during the week, let's just refresh this, 4 guests. So let's just have a look. This is kind of the area here. So this little splat gram here. So 102, 135, 184, 93, 173, 96, 134, 106, 102, 155, 137, 113. So I'm probably from that picking up about 110 as an average rate. I always like to go under, you know, I think if your worst case scenarios is always better. So weekdays, nights booked, I would always put about 13 weekday nights booked, and the weekday price you just said there was 110. And then what I do is I go back to Airbnb and I would then go to here and I would change it to weekend. So we were week before, we're now on weekend. Hit search. And then again, we've got this little cluster here. So we've got 235, 213, 144, 112, 152, 179, 176, 336, 227, 193, 205. So I'm feeling around the £200 mark, although there is quite a few at 175s. So what I would probably do, I'd go 8 weeknights booked, or weekend nights booked, sorry. And I'm probably going to go about 175 for the basis of this calculations. Although when I do price the properties online, when we've actually acquired them, obviously I'd be putting them up for a lot more. So we've then got minimum night stay. So I would encourage most of you to have a 3-night through the week and a 2-night at weekends. So, you know, you might average at about 2.5. I think our average length stay is about 3.9 or something at the minute. But for the sake of this, you'd probably want to put it at 2.5. Cleaning fee cost per night. So there is a bit of a guide here. So £10 per night up to 4 people, 15 up to 4 to 6, 25 things. So you probably want £10 in there, and linen fee, probably something similar depending on how you run your linen. And then this should automatically calculate up here your linen and your cleaning fees for the month and add it into your expenses. So all in all, we've got 13 nights, we've got 8 nights, 175, gross revenue 2830, OTA commissions 212, running costs 1,500 quid, VAT 313 pounds. I know some of you won't be VAT registered now, but because you're in this program, you're going to get loads of properties and you will quite quickly hit the VAT threshold. So consider VAT when you're calculating your deals, because whilst they might not be eligible for VAT now, you will have to pay VAT on them at some point. So what you don't want to do is have a really tight deal now, and then when you start getting hit with VAT, that you have to then actually, it becomes a break-even deal. So you want to be making sure that you're covering yourself. All that will happen now is you actually make more money until you hit that VAT threshold. So I would always encourage you to analyze the deals as though you were VAT registered. So this, as a quick snapshot, is showing profit of £952 a month. So for me, that's saying that we've got quite a bit of headway here, and we, you know, can probably afford some slower months. And you know, what you can actually do is then really work out what your break-even points would be. Now, you could either, you know, reduce your weekday price down, or you could reduce the number of nights that you booked to find out where you'd need to be to break even. In an ideal world, you want this number. So total nights booked, you want it to be about 13 to be a break-even point. So if we just change this slightly to 8, let's just go 6. So where are we at here? 14 nights. So let's just knock another night off. 7, 6, 13 nights, £94. So that's where, for me, I try and get my deals to. So if 13 nights of the month is my break-even point, it means I've got quite a lot of nights left to try and make my profit from. So I would always just play around and find out where your break-even point is. I mean, for this, it's actually probably 12 nights. I suppose I can knock another weekend night off and make a difference, but there you go. So sort of anywhere between 12 and a half to 13 nights is going to be profitable. You would hope that in somewhere like Newcastle, for example, your weekends are going to be booked like every weekend of the year pretty much. So apart from maybe January. But so 8 nights every week, 8 weekend nights every month is almost a given. And weekday nights, I would like to think that I have about 13 minimum booked in a month throughout the week. So, in an ideal world, you get, 4 nights or, 4 nights Monday to Thursday, week 1, week 2, week 3. And then that also gives you an extra week to kind of maybe pick up, or maybe you catch a bit of an unlucky booking where they'll only book 3 nights. But even if they do 3, 6, 9, 12 for the 4 weeks of the month, you're still getting your kind of 12 to 13 days. So that's how I pick up the, let me just figure this. So that's how I analyze the initial part of the deal. Now, this is very much just a snapshot, quick, give me some information. And you'll see here that it goes green after month 4. So what this is calculating is how long does it take to get your setup costs here back? Because far too many, this is why deal sourcing deals don't work, because if I was to put in a $3.5 grand sourcing fee into here, it goes to month 8 before I get my money back. Okay. And, I just cannot see how deals bought off deal sources work, because the payback's always like 12 months plus. So this here is saying that it's going to take me 3 to 4 months to get my initial capital that I put into the deal back. And then after that, we're into pure profit. So year 1, we're going to make 8 grand, then 2, we're going to make 12, and then year 3, 15. The reason it jumps up from year 1 to year 2 is obviously we don't have setup costs. And the reason it jumps up from year 2 to 3 is because there's a 20% uplift on there, because naturally you should get better at your pricing, you should get better at your marketing, you should get more bookings because you've got more reviews, and naturally the properties just get a bit more traction the longer that they have been in play for. So that's kind of how I initially look at stuff. If you want to dig deeper, there is this seasonal analysis. So let me just, I don't know why it keeps doing this. So what it has here is occupancy on this column here and rate on this column here. So occupancy in January, for example, is about, well, this January it was terrible. It was about 35%, thanks to Omicron. But in typical years, you're probably looking at somewhere like 60%. And then February, you're probably looking at probably 65. And then it starts to really kind of pick up a bit more, 75. Then you're probably looking at somewhere like May, 85, June, 90, 95, 95, 80, 77, 75, probably something like 65 in December. December's actually used to be really good, but the last 2 years naturally have been rubbish, because you didn't get that kind of burst of travel pre-Christmas like we used to get with a lot of people traveling to see families. But hopefully that was the last of it last year. You then have your rates. So in January, naturally you kind of probably chuck your rates right down just to try and get some bookings. Although I'm a big believer that if there's just no demand there, you can't force a market where there's no demand. I say it time and time again that service accommodation is a 12-month game. You've got to look at it as a 12-month game. You can't look at it on a monthly basis. You've got to just factor in the whole 12 months. Now, there are some things you can do with regards to direct bookings to try and boost your sort of lower months. But typically your rates will be a lot lower in some of these fewer months. 95, then you probably get to 110. And as you can see here, in July and August, we bump it up sort of 110, 115, and then we go back down again, and then we probably got somewhere like that. So what this bit does then is it then like breaks it into a seasonality. So shows you like in Jan you'll only make 300 quid, whereas in July you can potentially make a couple of grand. You know, and you'd want to just play around with the seasonalities, but you know, all in all, if we calculate that up, you're going to make about 13.5 grand per year. So again, a lot of headroom on the calculation here, and it lets us, you know, gives us the confidence that we can go. Now, one thing that you do need to really start to get in the habit of, and it's really difficult at the beginning because you're all excited and you want to get deals on and you don't want to let opportunities pass and, you know, yada, yada, yada. But you've got to trust the data, okay? If this box goes red past month 6, I do not go into the deal unless I can make it go green, okay? So a couple of ways you can make it go green. I could agree that they actually pay for the refurbishment rather than me. So I'll take that out of there, and then I would go back down here and see if it's bumped up. You know, you could reduce your furniture slightly, although that does tend to mean you're going to have to put second-hand stuff in there, and that can actually have a negative effect on the bookings. So I would probably try and avoid that if possible. If you're putting deposits into deals, obviously try and not put deposits into deals. So there's a few ways you can still try and get it to that sort of 6 month or less payback. However, if it's any more than that, you've got to walk away from the deals, because if you break your own rules, you'll end up breaking it and go, oh, it's only like 7 months. And then it'll be like, oh, it's only 8 months. And then before you know it, you'll be doing deals where it's like 12-month payback. You know, there's plenty of deals out there that will fit this criteria. And, you know, as long as you stick to it, then it removes all emotion from going into the deals and taking on bad deals, because there's only bad things come from investing emotionally. And, you know, there's never a good thing that comes from investing emotionally. The house I'm currently stood in was definitely an emotional investment and was massively overpaid for, but it's different scenarios of my family home and it's not an investment. But you just, your emotions run wild, and you got to really stick to your principles and make sure that you are, you know, holding back if the deal doesn't work, or find another deal, or trying to negotiate a better deal so it does work. And, you know, on that front, I think as well, trust your gut a lot. You know, you will get a gut feeling about properties when you're in them, when you're around the area, when you're looking at them, as to whether they'll actually work or not. Because you might get a deal like this where it's all green lights, but when you were there, you just didn't get the right feel about it, and you just felt like there's just something not right about it. And I've been there as well. And I find the easiest thing to do then is ask yourself a couple of questions. For me, it is, would I stay there? And would I be happy if I was staying there? If the answer is no, then a guest isn't going to be happy either. And, you know, the next question I ask myself is, when my kids are 18, would I want them to live there? And if the answer is no, then again, I probably wouldn't think it's fair enough to put a guest in there either. And the guest's probably thinking that as well. So they're kind of the questions I ask myself when I'm a bit unsure about an area or a certain property. And I think trust your gut feel on that front. If the data is saying go for it, but your gut's saying don't, I would always go with your gut feeling, because 9 times out of 10 it's right. And obviously something's put you off, so that means that it could quite easily put somebody else off as well. So that's kind of how I analyze the SA deals, and it really is a quick solution. I mean, you can do that in like 10 minutes once you get the hang of it. And you know, I actually tend to just do it on my phone now. I kind of just work out what the rent is plus the bills, and then I work out what the average rates are, times it by 21, and then I'll sort of see what the difference is, and then I'll work out how much I'm going to put into the cost. So but you know, I think do it on the spreadsheets, build your spreadsheets up. The spreadsheets as well are designed at the top. If you fill in all the information at the top here, you know, the street address, the area, the postcode, the property type, the advertised price, the offer made, the first listed, the outcome, you can actually, you know, these spreadsheets are actually linked. So in the top bit of this BRR bit, this is where you're meant to start off with. You put in all the details of the vendor and the agent, and the date you saw it, and the contact email. And then this actually becomes a pipeline for you. So by putting all your deals in here, they should filter into here. And then you'll always have the agent's details, and you can go back over and you look at them and be like, right, let's ring them and see if that's still on the market. Or let's just have a look. If you post the website here, you put the website link in here for the actual listing, just click on it. If it's still advertised, make an inquiry on it. And, because if it's still advertised, it's still obviously available for rent or to purchase. So you can pick those deals up quite quickly. I know we had a phone call this afternoon, basically off-market deal, estate agent. He's got a week to sell this property. Knows we're good for money because we've bought properties off them before. So asked if I'd buy it. So I sent one of the guys around tonight to have a look at it, but it just doesn't stack up. Put an offer in on it, but it's been rejected because it's too low. But, that's the type of stuff that does come from just building connections and building networks, and just constantly go back asking for deals. It's like super, super, super important. So that is how we analyze deals. Does anyone have any questions on any of that? No? Marvelous. I'm only joking. So does anyone have any questions around anything in general that they want to go over before I mix these up into some groups?
I'll ask one, Ryan, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, me and Martin are new to the group tonight or this week. So I presume our first best task would be to just start doing some area research and just start running some of the properties through the analyzer to get a feel for what's out there in terms of Airbnb and things like that.
Yeah, I think
modules.
If you go into the modules, I think the quickest path to fast cash is actually in module number 1, and that's where that area research is. I would just encourage you to get through the modules, start at level 1 and just work your way through them as much as you can. I would also encourage us I'll go over this with everyone that's new tonight. Just hang around afterwards and I'll kind of go through how to work through the program and just show you how it all works. And then you'll have a bit more of an idea, really. But Branga, hand up.
Hi. So my question is I did see this on a video somewhere, I can't remember now, where you said that ideally you want the properties to be furnished, but it doesn't have to be. It's not a deal breaker. So what if the furniture is horrendous and it looks really minging?
Yeah, well, I mean, then obviously you'd want the furniture out. We actually I had that today. I was analysing the hotel to take over, and they're like, "Oh, it's furnished and da da da." And I was like, "Yeah, the furniture's crap. That there's no way it's going to work with that. So it needs 12 bedrooms worth of furniture. So it changes the deal somewhat. But if you can find properties that are furnished and the furniture's ideal, then it just reduces your outlay cost. But I think they are few and far between. The majority of the properties you find will be unfurnished because most landlords just rent to tenants unfurnished. But I know I have picked up deals that are furnished or part furnished, and they've got the base there, and you're only spending maybe $1,000 to get the rest in play, plus all that and stuff. So, but if I was starting out and funds weren't abundant, then I would definitely start my search with furnished properties and just go after furnished properties if I could. And then because what you also have as well, and whilst again the furniture is not great, a lot of portfolio landlords end up.
It's just the internet.
A lot of portfolio landlords end up collecting furniture. I've got a yard full of furniture down in the warehouse, and so if you're saying I'll take it, but I need that bed replacing or that mattress replacing or whatever, then they might actually have some spare stock kicking around. At least you can ask the question. But yeah, in the main, I mean, there's ways to fund furniture, so don't let it put it off like getting into a really nice property in a good location that's modern. You know, there's ways to fund furniture even if you know, you don't have a lot of cash at your disposal.
Yeah, but what would be the average? So you did put 3,500 in that when you were doing that example for a 2-bed. Is it 3.5? No.
Again, it comes down to what you're putting in there. I mean, you could probably mix. Well, you could go on Facebook Marketplace and you could probably source ideal furniture full kit out for, I don't know, £1,000. But there's a lot of running around collecting all the different bits and bobs and, you know, trying to piece it all together and stuff. So it kind of comes back to the time versus money sort of conversation. Again, it depends on kind of the type of furniture you're putting in there. I tend to put in, so if it's a 2-bed, I would always put a double bed and then a twin bed. I don't bother with zip and link beds. I just get a double bed and then 2 twin beds. If it was a 3-bed, I'd probably put 2 doubles and 1 twin. If it was 4, I'd obviously go 2 twins, 2 doubles. So just kind of keeping the variation mixed up. Downside for me with zip and link beds is the linen. It's not easy to manage it and control it, especially on mass. So and I don't think we've ever really suffered by not having zip and link beds, and they do cost a bit more. So but yeah, I mean, it's difficult really for me to put a price on furniture because I buy wholesale now. So I'll buy like 10 to 15 units worth of furniture at once, and I put it all in the warehouse, so I get massive discount on it. But at the beginning, I was, you know, I think the very first flat I ever kitted out was a 1-bedder, and that cost me about 1,100 quid in IKEA. I think I remember putting it on a credit card. So there are ways and means of doing it, but for much lower, or you can, you know, pay. We do furniture for sort of setups, and you know, we charge. You know, but we then charge for our time and the setup and all that because you have to do that. So it just depends where you sit in terms of that. But what I would say is, like, if, for example, I don't know, let's say your furniture cost was £3,500, but getting someone else to do it's going to cost you £4,500. Well,
it's worth it, I think. Well, to me, it is.
Yeah. So if say, for example, let's say in your scenario, okay, you get the keys, you get the furniture, but then actually you need to go to work for the next week and you're on night shift. So it's going to be next weekend before you can even get in and build it. Well, the extra £1,000 the company could come in tomorrow or sort it all out, done, take all the rubbish away, and then you're open for bookings. You could collect £1,000's worth of bookings between now and next weekend. So it kind of pays for it. So always think of it in that way. You know, if you can get payment terms, even better, because then it buys you a bit of time to pay for it. Not many companies will do that, but if you can, you know, great. I know IKEA sometimes do business 30-day credit and things like that. So there's ways and means to kind of self-fund these things, because if you choose the right area, the right property, you'll get bookings in the first week. And you know, the majority of the platforms pay out fairly quickly. So before you even need to make those payments, you've probably more than likely got the revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Leah, do you want to shout next?
Yeah, sure. So I've been looking at this 2-bed flat. I went to a viewing on Saturday. I'm just not sure because they basically want the rent for £595, which I think is a bit high, but I think I mentioned this on the group, you know, that's kind of like the market, you know, right now, where the rent is increasing. And I'm just sort of like struggling in terms of like where the rent is high and where we have to compete with the, you know, other BNBs in the area as well. So in terms of like, I think pricing, that's something I probably need to like look into and stuff. But I mean, I've got my deal analyzer that I've sort of, you know, wrote down and stuff. I don't know should I share it? Or
Yeah, you can do. Yeah. One thing I'll say about comparing with, try not to compare with B&Bs if it's an apartment. They're just, whilst we're classed under the same sort of hospitality tag, they're kind of two total different things. There's a lot of people moving away from the hotel B&B structure because a lot of guests are now wanting the kitchen and the lounge and everything else that goes with a serviced accommodation unit. I'll give you a very case and example. We have a 9-bed B&B in South Shields, and the downstairs we converted the kitchen, which used to be the old breakfast area. We converted that into a self-contained flat with a kitchen and with a lounge. The flat is the most booked out of the whole property because people want the kitchen and the lounge as well as the bedrooms. So especially in the slower months, like some of the rooms haven't even been booked for the whole of January, which is expected. To Seaside Resort, it's it's expected, but the apartment has. So I wouldn't compare with B&Bs for pricing. I would always just you can keep a keen eye on it, but I wouldn't compare it like for like.
Okay. Yeah. Let me just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
No. Oh, hold on. Yeah, we got it.
Yeah. Okay. 1 second. Can you see that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the rent, well, the rent is 595, but I was thinking to negotiate it for 575.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not too keen about the deal, to be honest, but because it's one of those, it's a deal that the letting agent actually present to us. So we weren't even looking, so they just like presented to us and suggested it to us. So obviously I had to go to the viewing, and like you said, have to put offer and everything. So I thought I'll just put a lower offer than what they're asking. But this is my numbers, basically. So I put
So 595 is what they're asking for, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just leave that in there for now.
Okay.
And then just go. What else do we need? Put £19 insurance in. In fact, well, you probably won't need. Well, you just put it in anyway. You won't need that because you'll get public liability insurance. Fine, but take the license. Consumables, probably put 30 quid in there. Underneath the 30 quid.
Do we need to pay for TV license for like 2-bed SA unit?
So if your TVs don't have live TV, then technically you don't need a license. So I don't put any aerials in mine, and I just have smart TVs, so they're hooked up to Netflix and Amazon Prime. Yeah. So as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't got live TV.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't get TV licenses for mine.
Yeah. All right.
157. So again, yeah. See there. So you're 1341. Okay, you've got 16 nights booked through the week. I would just drop that down to 13 just for now. Just always kind of work on worst case scenario.
Okay.
8 weekend nights. What location is it?
Stoke.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so 8. So weekend price the same as weekday price? Is that right?
I don't know.
Typically, it's a bit higher. I mean, by doing that exercise with Airbnb, where you look at weekday and then look at weekend, you'd kind of see the difference. So you saw how before that jumped from like I can't even remember now, 120s to 170s or whatever it was, 110 to 175 just by the weekend shift. So you would typically see an uplift of probably 20 quid, something like that, I would say. So if you put that in at 97 or 100 or something, I don't think you're far off.
Yeah. But when I do the pricing, like on here, I want to like do it, you know, as a worst case scenario kind of thing. Because I don't want to like I suppose.
No, you don't want to overestimate. 1907, 143, 1287, 0. Obviously, your VAT's missing there. Your VAT calculation's missing. So that would bring the profit down slightly. I mean, also remember with this, that VAT calculation is just purely output VAT. So it doesn't actually factor in any input VAT. So if you're getting charged VAT on your cleaning, if you're getting charged VAT on your consumables, you know, all that can be then offset against the VAT. So whilst that VAT there's worst case scenario, it'll actually be less than that on your calculations, because it wouldn't be at the full 20% or 12.5% as it is now, depending on what you can offset against it. But basically all that happened there is you've knocked the formula out. If you go back up to above there where it says VAT, if you go to the next cell along and copy the formula back, then it'll put the VAT in for you.
All right. What I'll do is I'll just type it manually. Is it that?
Yeah.
Times
20%. But again, the VAT in hospitality at the minute, it's a funny one because it's all over different things, but different VATs. So, so 362 quid. And
that looks too good.
Yeah, so as you can see, we're bang on month 6 for payback. You know, at the end of the day, it's an extra 40 odd quid, you know, 5 grand a year in your bank account. So, you know, it's not the best deal in the world, but it's not the worst. You know, and I think they are probably on worst case figures. So, you know, for me, the data's saying it's bang on that 6-month payback. I would just be confident that your costs at the top, your setup costs are right. Maybe try and negotiate a no deposit deal. But oh no, it looks fine. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, you're also working on 21 nights booked on average across the year. So you may get, you know, a few more nights than that are booked on average per month, per year. So yeah, I mean, for me, I would buy into that. If those are the figures, I was happy with the property, and you know, I felt I was confident in my analysis, and that came up with that on the spreadsheet. Whilst it's below my sort of minimum what I would want, I still think it's not a bad deal. And you know, at the end of the day, if I came knocking on your door and said, "Do you want an extra 5 grand this year?" I'm pretty sure you'd say yes. So you know, that's the way I kind of look at them. I don't, when the numbers are smaller, I kind of look at them as an annual return as opposed to the monthly, because, you know, an extra 300 quid a month doesn't really sound that good. But when you know, put it into an extra, you know, 12 months and it gives you an extra, you know, 4 grand or whatever it might be, then it starts to look a bit more attractive.
Okay. Can I just check on the area with you?
Yeah.
So this is just a screenshot that I took earlier. So basically, where can you see my screen? For the map? So where I've circled like in red, that's where the property is. And hotel. So around the area, there's not really much B&B or service accommodations around it, but it is 5 minutes drive to like quite, you know, big towns. But there are around 3 big hotels around it, I suppose, but I'm not sure, you know, if that's sort of within the area as such.
No, I mean, you've got Rent a Room Stoke there right above it, and you've got the townhouse next to it. So it looks like it's probably on a train line. Is that a train station? Maybe?
Yeah. Yes, there's a train station not too far from it.
So yeah, I mean, all in all, it looks a good enough deal on the spreadsheet. That data looks fine. And I'd imagine if you put in, you know, Stoke or the postcode on Airbnb like we did before, there'd be quite a lot of properties pop up.
this is again a screenshot I took. So where the property is, where it says Cliff Vale, is
Yeah.
around there. So that's why when I did like my research around the area, I looked at, obviously Airbnb first, and I couldn't see many Airbnb around, like, the area. It's more like obviously towards near the town centres. I think it's because there isn't really like walking distance wise, there isn't any conveniences or stores or anything like that nearby.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
sure.
would, yeah, I mean, well, let's just, let me just jump off screen share a sec.
Yeah.
And let's, what was the postcode? I think you're on mute there, Leah.
Sorry, it's ST4
Yeah.
7GH. Sorry, 7GF. So if you go up, well,
Here?
no, if you go up,
Oh,
where it says Cliff Vale, on the left, on the right hand side, sorry, yeah, around there basically.
so you got 22 stays. So again, just look at the reviews. You get 80. 15, 21, 12. Let's see, true stays have got quite a few. 13, 33. Again, the day looks good. I mean, I'd be confident in that. What was yours 2 bed?
2-bed flat, yeah.
Yeah, so 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms.
Yeah, I was comparing with like other 2-bed flats as well.
Yeah, so I think your rates are probably a bit low as well, so that's all good news. So yeah, I think there's plenty of upside in that deal. So
Okay, cool. Thank you.
definitely have a look at that. Cool. Any more questions? Homework for this week. So last week was opening 100 conversations. Who completed it? Hands up. Who did anywhere near it? Half? 50? Jesus Christ. I'll leave now. So right, dual homework this week is 1, do 100 conversations, and 2, I want you to analyze 5 deals and make offers on 5 deals. So that means you're gonna have to get your ass on some viewings as well. But if you're doing your 100 conversations, you should easily be getting enough viewings to put 5 offers in. And we can. I want you to be studying, and I want you to be learning as much as you can. But don't want you spending loads of time behind these laptops. The game is out there, and we've got to get out there, and we've got to start opening conversations. We've got to start, stomping the streets and getting on viewings and meeting people. And the more we do of that, definitely the bigger your portfolio will grow. So 100 conversations. For those that don't understand what I'm talking about, if you watch last week's video, which I'll is in Kajabi now as well as on the Facebook group, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. And yeah, five deals analyzed on the spreadsheet and 5 offers made, and I guarantee if you make 5 offers, you should pick up at least 1 deal. Cool. So I would like to stay on with all the newbies. There's about 4 years, I think, 5 maybe. I'm just going to give you a quick run through the program. everyone else, I'm no doubt we'll speak on Telegram throughout the week, and I will see you next week. Cool. Alrighty. So welcome everyone. Welcome, gents. And I think hopefully tonight will give you a bit of a glimpse of kind of what happens on night. I would have also done breakout rooms, but the fact that there was quite a lot of newbies with us tonight, the breakout rooms probably wouldn't have been as powerful. So normally I'd do a 15-minute breakout room, which helps you guys network as well as talk. Stop, just so I don't have to talk all the time, but kind of share what you've learned. But in terms of the program and how to look like maximize it, let me just stop this because I don't need